So we're going to try to finish Perek Haughtiness. That's what we're going to try to do right now. By the way, very important public announcement. This share on Torah Anytime that's being recorded right now is, according to the official Torah Anytime website, is my 5,000th share uploaded on Torah Anytime. How's Hashem? What's this? L'chaim? No, okay, all right. All right, Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Okay, let's go. So the emes is Lazoi. I want to go, if you don't mind, a little bit fast, and it might also take a tiny bit longer than normal, simply because I think we should finish our Perek Haughtiness, especially because now we've got a break of quite a few days until we get to Perek Lamed next week. So I think it's kedai to finish off the sugya by just going through it and doing as much as we can. We are holding by the paragraph starting V'gam mi shuhu naki, right? That's what we're holding. But we've got a couple of newcomers. Well, one newcomer. We've got a couple of guys that haven't been here for a couple of days. So let me just give a little bit of a recap, and also good for every single one of us also to understand exactly what is he talking about, what's the sugya that we're dealing with. This is a very crucial topic. He spoke about in the beginning how the Timtum Alev can, so to speak, mess up his avodas Hashem, his geschmack, his energy, his emotions in Yiddishkeit, so much so that when he comes to davening, he feels like a rock. I'm not getting anywhere, I have no shaykhs this, I'm not connected, I'm not connecting. And the reason for that is because a person, obviously he's done things that he shouldn't, and he's got a lot of physical pursuits that he's busy with. So we said at the beginning, the Eitzah from the Zohar Kodesh, which is to break a person, which we're going to speak more about today, Be'ezah Hashem, but it's extremely crucial topic for two reasons. Number one, the Tanya wants every person to be a master over his emotions and his thoughts. Don't allow your thoughts and your emotions to rule over you. And you have this especially when it comes to Averas. People are like, oh my gosh, this Avera is driving me nuts. I can't believe I did. That means that the thought is ruling over you as opposed to you ruling over your thoughts. You have to learn to be in control of your own thoughts. That's number one. Number two as well, to realize something that we've spoken about right in the beginning, Perek Aleph. We're going back to it kind of. That your neshama is a lekay neshama shenasata b'tohiri. That means the neshama that the Rebbeinu Shalom gave you is a beautiful, gorgeous, pure, and special item that comes mamash from the Kisei HaKavod. True that sometimes it has a few layers on it that come from the things that you shouldn't have been doing that you did, but the neshama remains pure, and remember that. And that's what he's telling us, and he's been telling us for the last couple of days, is to separate the person from the clothing. The clothing that you wear are not you. They're just the clothing that you wear. And if those clothing happen to have a few stains on it, you are not dirty. Your clothing is dirty, by the way. I don't know if anyone over here has ever studied IFS, but there's a lot of talk about that. IFS and Tanya have huge connections. And it's mostly because of that, to connect and to know where things come from. But I'll go upon him. Therefore, why am I telling all this? Because first of all, the Tanya was telling us in Perek Haughtiness, but more than that, if a person realizes these two things, then when he's being misponen, when he's thinking about and he's having these thoughts, which may lead to a depressing situation of the realization of where am I holding, what am I doing, but it actually breaks him, which is the Zohar Kodesh's Eitzah. Once it breaks him, then he'll be able to now experience the geschmack and emotions in Yiddishkeit, which is what we said in the beginning of the parak, a person is often missing, which is why this is such a crucial topic. So now with that introduction, I might go a little bit faster than normal, but let's move. V'gam. We spoke yesterday about the averas that a person does when they're younger, specifically talking about Zerah Levatola. Even if a person is innocent from those, you should try to put on your heart and be mekayim that which is stated in Zohar Kodesh, which is of course making a cheshbon and nefesh and doing tshuva. Liyos mimori de cheshbona, right? Be someone that makes a cheshbon and nefesh. Dahainu lasas cheshbon and nafsham. Remember, it's your machshavos, your thoughts, your speeches, and your ma'asim, your actions. Think about when you go to sleep at night. What did I do today? What did I say today? What did I think today? Every single day, new ones. Were they on the tzad of kedusha, holiness, right? In Yonei, things that shaykhs to Rebbeinu Shalom, to Torah, tefillah, mitzvahs, chesed, whatever. Oy mitzad tumah rachman al Islam dahainu kadam machshava sebur ma'asav shaloi la Hashem heiman of etzon levad so shezeh perishon sitra achra canal. That means even if today you go through your day on your account, your cheshbon, and I didn't do any major averas, but you still have words and actions that were not necessarily, dedicated to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So even those have a chelik of the sitra achra, the bad forces with them, and therefore you have to add that to your cheshbon and nefesh session. Umuda zois ki koleis sha'odom machashev v'achshavos k'doishos na'ases merkava be'ezu le'cholos ha'k'doisha. That means when a person has machshavos, which are kedoshos, which are things of holiness, he becomes a vehicle for incredible holy things, of which go up in the Shemayim, and that's where your thoughts come from. Shemehem mushpois machshavos alonu. The other way around is also true. Na'ases merkava t'mei be'ezu le'cholos ha'tumah. That means if you start thinking the things that you shouldn't really be thinking about, it comes from a terrible place and it goes back to that terrible place. As well. Perek Chav Gimel, everybody remembers, if you remember, or go back to Perek Chav Gimel, we talk about the garments, right? We spoke about this idea of the machshavas, dibur, and ma'aseh being the garments of our soul, which is why it's very important for a person to choose at all times that the machshavah, dibur, ma'aseh that he's having at that moment has its tzaddik kedusha, because if not, it comes in the sitra acha and it powers and energizes the sitra acha. Oid yosem aliboy, think about roiv chaloy moisav. What about your dreams? What do you dream at night? Shem hevel u'us ruach. Most of my garbage. Shu she'ein nafsha oila lamala. They're not even able to go up. Which means if you have a negative or empty dream, it means that your neshama was not able to go fully up. And that means if your neshama doesn't go up, then it means that the evil stuff on the other side clings to it, telling him all the garbage and worldly matters that are not necessarily tzaddik kedusha. They show you in a dream, meaning the alma, things of the world. And if that's what you're thinking in a dream, that's why. Where he goes through much more of a riches of that. Hine, kol ma sheyaru beinonim elu. But machshavta v'gambinu v'svarim niyos liboy nishba b'kuboy v'nivze be'edim nimas kekosu b'tachlas samiyas lumos uchay mamish. This is what we said right at the beginning of the parak, which is we really want a person to be disgusted by certain things that are not right to be done. Harei b'zeh mamos u'mvazeh sitra acha u'mashpil la'ofo ma'vida m'gdulosa v'gas rucha m'vuzah v'shemagibes atzmos or kedushat nefesh elekis na'machshav oira. That means it's the gaiva, it's the haughtiness that every single one of us have inside us that lifts us over our nefesh elekis, right? And that's the power, by the way, of chokhmah. It can do that. And because of that, once it lifts you up there, it blocks the light, because we said in the beginning, got tremendous light coming from it. And that haughtiness, that gaiva, blocks the light, which causes you to have a spiritual detachment. So if you're wondering why my avodas Hashem, I'm feeling zero, no connection, no emotion, no excitement, it's because of the gaiva. It's because of the haughtiness, and that lifts you above the nefesh elekis. It all comes from chachma v'gam. Yar, and therefore if you break yourself, you're able to break that gaiva. Once you break the gaiva, you're able to go and have a more geshmak Yiddishkeit. V'gam. Yarim oleh b'kol rash v'roiges lashpila. The Tanya says, I want you basically to get your nefesh elekis to be angry with your nefesh Bahamas and scream at it. That's what he says. That's what he says. In order to go and humble your sitra achra, that's what you have to do. What does that Gemara mean? Look about the Tanya. Tell them what it means. It means get your nefesh halakis to be angry and screaming. Your nefesh bahamas shenema rigzu v'chule. It's all to melashon of anger. The hainu lirgois as al nefesh bahamas shivitzu shel odam yitz horishol bekol rash. You are bad, all the disgusting names. You're despicable. All the Gemaras and the Russian Chazal. Look at the Gemara in Kedushin Daf Lamed. It tells us there's so many different Gemara in Sukkot and Beis. You got that? And the Beis Amaladav also talks about the names of the Yetzer Hara. All these things that Chazal are telling us, you should use those names on your Yetzer Hara, on your Nefesh Bahamas. And Moshe tasted the flame. Ora ain't so baruchu. Mamada kol olmim hayaroya hayahoiva v'yeh b'shova gambok b'zeshani olov k'moshe ora ain't so baruchu levada kodim shniva olam belishim shini k'moshe kosav ani Hashem lo shanisi ki hu lemadam azman v'chulei v'alta b'nuva v'chulei machar she'emes aniru le'inayin to kol kamei kol mamish be'emes v'kinu raya v'chushes. That means anything that's bad, you're pushing away, you're showing that it's bad, you're screaming and getting angry, and that itself is going to break all the sitra achra bad klippos of tumah that you've had inside you, which will open up and reveal the light that is memela there from your beautiful neshama v'hine. Al yedei zeh, through this, Yoel lenafshay lekis lahare neo be'emes yichud or ein soy beria chushis v'loibech l'shmiya v'avon levad. Meaning, it's all very nice for us to learn in the Tanya. Wow, my neshama is so bright and it illuminates and it's kabbalic. All right, Pseudo. Thank you for telling me that. But he's telling you if you want to experience it, this is the only way to do that. Al Yedei Zeh, by doing this, it allows your Nefesh HaKis to illuminate, to mamish explode with emotions and commissions. Like he explains later on, we'll see in Lamed Vov a little bit more about that. Wait till we get there. She says, Shoirish Kol HaAvodah. Look about Tanya, every word you can be medayik. This is the Shoirish, the root of all Avodas over there. They're Tam. We know, and we've spoken about this in for example, we spoke about this by Shovavim. Very often the Yetzer comes along with this whole thing of how if you do this, it'll be very exciting for you. And then you do what the Yetzer advises you to do, and you're like, I can't believe I did that. It's like an empty balloon, right? You have a balloon, it's full of air, it looks like a mice, you know, a big balloon. You pop it, boom, so a bunch of air. That's what the Yetzer is. That's what the Sitra Achra is trying to get you to do. Something which be'etzem is nothing, but in your mind, in your imagination, in your desires, in your thoughts, it's so much. And that's exactly what the Baal Tanya is telling us over here. That's why right, the Zohar considers the Yetzer is like Choshe, darkness. What's darkness? Except for the darkness of Mitzrayim, that was a different darkness, or new Metzias, of thickness, of Metzias, the Torah. Tamiba talks about it, but in regular darkness, there's no mamoshes, there's no tangibility, right? You can't touch darkness, there's nothing there. Right, nothing physical there. You light one match, boom, all of a sudden the darkness is gone. Because there's nothing really to darkness, right? Even though the Rebbeinu created darkness at the beginning of time, precious, gracious, whatever. The kacha sitra achra, so too is with the Yetzer. True. Avada the Yetzer, the Sitra Achra, has energy to give energy to all the Barachayim Atmeim. The Nafsh Sumas Oilam and the Goyim. We spoke about this previously. The Gan Nefesh Bahamas, Shib Yisrael, also we spoke about that as well. Perik Vov, if you remember, that even the Goyim and the animals that are Tommy also get the energy from there. So Be'etzim, there's energy there. So it is Mamoshes. No. The Chiyas, the life, the energy is not Mitzad itself, Chas v'Shalom. Ella, Mitzad the Kedusha canal. V'lachein, he betela legam mipnei Kedusha kapitel achoshim pnei legam agashmi. So therefore it becomes bottled mipnei Kedusha, just like darkness becomes bottled in front of light. Rak. Okay, am I apologizing that we're doing too much? And I'm apologizing that we're going faster than normal, but I want to finish the parak. Rak. Shalagabe Kedushas nefesh adakisha ba'adam. The Kedusha of a Yid, the Kedusha of an Neshama and a Yid, Nasan la HaKadosh Baruch Hu Rishus, permission, v'yichodis like biatzmoi kinegda, has the ability to overpower, to raise itself up against it, Kedesha Adam. Yisoyel iskaba le'la ashpira, al yedei shifros u'nichas, rucha v'nivza be'ena v'nimos, u'vis arusa, the lesata, Isarusa de Leila. We spoke about this. If there's an arousal down here, it's Zohar Kodesh, then there's an arousal up there also. If you do something over here, there's going to do something in Shemayim. The Kaim HaShakosov, Mesham, Oibiticha, Num Hashem, the Hainu, Shemesirim, Memshalta, V'yecholtu, Masali, B'mena, Koyach, V'shus Nosan, Lo, Lag, B'yatzma, Neka, Dor, Kudish, Nefesh, Al-Kis, V'azim, Meila, B'teila, V'nitga, B'tel, Chosh, B'nei, Or, Agashmi. That means if a person raises himself up and he utilizes the Kedusha, so Mimela, the other side, the Tumah, the Sitra Achra becomes bottle, just like Moshel of the Baal Tanya, Choshech, darkness becomes bottle because of the light. Ukamai, Shumatzinu Dov Azem B'Fosh B'Tov Yikab Meraglim, Shumatchila Omer, what is it about Meraglim? Ki Chozaku Mimenu, they are stronger than us. Al Tuki Mimenu V'Chole, the Gemara of the Soita goes through it, Shlei Minu B'Chodes Hashem. They didn't really trust and really believe in the gewaldige ability of the Rabboni Shalom. And then they said, "Hineni alinu umein chazu behem uvolehem amuna b'chodesh Hashem havelah lehem yishvei Rabbeinu lavashonim shum ois umoifas al zeh ben time." The Moshe Rabbeinu did not show them any sign or miracle in the meantime. Rak she'omer lehem eir shekotzav Hashem aleh v'nishpa shel avinu ne'arot ma'yihol lehem. In other words, they didn't have the full ma'aminin. They weren't ma'aminin in the Rabbeinu Shalom to the level that they were able to go in, because even the Moshe Rabbeinu had told them, the only reason is they didn't have the emunah b'tochen but they were maminim b'nei maminim. The only problem is that Sitra Acha had the ability by them to raise up and seem to block the light of the Kedusha Nafshan and the Kiss, but Gasses Ruch again from the Gasser Ruch, which comes from the Gaiva. ולכן מיד שכוסף השם עליהם, והם בקור רעש, ורגע, עד מוסל עד הרע הזויס. Oh, the Rebbeinu Shalom shouted to them. במדבר הזה יפלו בגריכם, again, I'm not going through the whole story, look at the Gemara, look at the Pesukim, and יש נדברתיהם, לא זויס עשר, וכל עד הרע הזויס וכולי, וכששומע דברים קשים אלו, oh, they heard all of a sudden, these really bad, what's it called, these really bad, the shyness on the Rebbeinu Shalom, all of a sudden, what happened? Again, this whole idea that he's bringing is only to prove his point, that if you shout at your Yetzirah, and you shout at all the bad things, it's going to be machmir itself. Oh, it's going to humble itself. That's what happened. All of a sudden, the Meraglim said, oh, I'm so sorry. There was a chna. K'diksiv, this ablo ha'moid. U'memela nofla ha'sitra achwa u'meshaldo of gu'av v'gas rucha v'yisol atzim nehem aminan. And they became aminim, which were what they really are on the inside, but they're just, their nefesh Bahamas was taking over. Rabbi say, last paragraph, and we're finished, Rabbi say. U'mezeh yachal lilmod kol odom. Every person can learn from it. If you ever have inside you a suffix about emunah, it comes from the sitra achra levado that seems to be raising itself higher than your nefesh alekis. Don't worry, a yid is always a maimin. Even the sitra achra himself, by the way, we've spoken about this in previous brokim. He also knows he was created by the Rebbeinu Shalom. He's got no sfekas in emunah. He's just putting it into you. He's given permission to confuse a person. But if he's sheker or so the rabbi said, just to sum up, what he's telling us, if a person wants a geschmack and emotion and geschmack in Yiddishkeit, he needs to break himself by making times specifically to think about where he's holding, understand where he's holding, and realize that he can utilize that to become more close to Rabban Shem Shkoyach.